there, and welcome back to another episode of Be Encouraged Moments. As always, because we always have to say it, we're so grateful that you're here. We hope that you're sharing these, and if you're not, we encourage you to do so.
Yes.
Today, we are going to be talking about changes. Do any of you have changes that you're currently going through or expect to have happening sometime soon? How well do you handle changes in your life more accurately? I know for me, I've currently had a lot of changes that have happened recently, and more importantly, the thing that's kind of been stressing me out are the changes that I know are coming. You can prepare, you can think about it, but it's still change, and change is hard. Change is inevitable. We all face it, whether it's big or small. I mean, every single day, I think we face some form of change. Our kids growing up, our kids going to different schools. I mean, we could list a whole bunch of things, but I think you guys all realize the different kinds of changes. So for me, one of the things that I'm looking to is like I said, the possibility of potentially moving to a different place and, just little things like that. Nothing huge. It's just downsizing. I want to downsize. This is what I want to do, but nonetheless, it's a change. So, and there's been some other things too that are a little bigger and a little heavier. And I haven't been processing it overly well. And so my mom actually was cleaning some things out, and she came across an article that I think might have been her mom's article that her mom handed down to her, and then she thought that it was really timely and she wanted me to read it. So I was really excited. It's called Lessons from Aunt Grace, and I'm actually going to show this to you. This is a scanned copy, and I don't know how well you can see it, but you can see how it's all like yellow and like wrinkly. This was like a really old article from a Reader's Digest. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because it's 4 pages long, but I think the essence of this is so good.
Phenomenal.
It talks about a lady. She wrote into the Reader's Digest, and she was telling a story about what had happened to her. She had moved. Her family had uprooted and moved across the country, and they were in this new house, and she was sorting through boxes, and she was just depressed. She was upset. This was not home. And her husband had referred to something about their new home, and she's like, this isn't my home. This isn't me. This isn't, she was just upset. And one day when she was sorting through some of the boxes, she stumbled across a journal that belonged to her Aunt Grace. Her Aunt Grace was, teenager, early 20s in the 1920s. So think about that time frame just in general. That was a rapidly changing time period for all of us. But as she got to start reading her aunt's diary, she'd always envisioned her aunt or always known her aunt to be... I'm trying to think of the right word here, but she was never in a relationship. She was never married. She was the old spinster. That's the word I was looking for. But she was the happy spinster. She was always had a smile, a kind word, a giving heart, and all those kinds of things. But as she read this diary, she learned a side of her aunt that she never knew. Her aunt really wasn't an old spinster. Her aunt had actually been passionately in love and engaged and lost her fiancé in the war. And she fell into a Great Depression when that happened. And so she was really struggling with her life and what she was going to do and what the future looked like. Change. There was a lot of change happening, and her aunt didn't know how to deal with it. So eventually she came up with what she called 6 simple rules to get by. And so the rules were, number 1, do something for someone else. Number 2, do something for myself. Number 3, do something I don't want to do that needs doing. Number 4, do a physical exercise. Number 5, do a mental exercise. And number 6, do an original prayer that always includes counting my blessings. And then as she quotes after this, Aunt Grace wrote this, that she limited herself to 6 rules because she felt that number to be manageable. I loved this when I read it because of the simplicity of the rules. These are things that we should be doing day in and day out for ourselves, whether anything is changing or not. But what a wonderful thing to help us get through the change when we have very simple things that we can focus on and recenter ourselves. The rest of the article goes on to explain how both Aunt Grace and the woman who wrote the article you practiced these 6 rules. And I found it really interesting, the examples they gave, because like, do a physical exercise. I don't know about all you guys, but that was like, for me. But it wasn't like go out and lift weights or, get on a regiment of like really big physical exercise. It was more like, take a leisurely walk, go walk to get your mail. And well, here in Arizona, we all have mailboxes. That may not be the case for you guys, but just take a stroll around the neighborhood. It wasn't anything massive. It wasn't major. And that was true for all of these items. The do something for someone else. It was as simple as picking up the telephone and calling a member of the church who was homebound and just talking to them for a few minutes.
Exactly.
I think that this whole concept is very beautiful. The one that I thought was really interesting was number 6. Both Aunt Grace and the woman who wrote the article struggled with that one, which number 6 was do an original prayer that always includes counting your blessings. And I think the reason I found that interesting is because the example they used was Aunt Grace said that she had a hard time with that because when she sits in church, she finds herself distracted and more interested in the ladies' hats than in what the pastor had to say. I've been there. Maybe not so much the hat part, but thinking about the things that I have to do. And I know we've had several conversations about my prayer journey and how for me, I don't feel like my prayer journey looks traditional, if you will. But I don't think there's a wrong way or a right way. And I know I've said that on these videos before. And I think Aunt Grace really drove this home. For her, it was a matter of going to a very special place and just taking a moment to be still. And the more she did that with routine, the easier it got to open up the lines of communication in her prayer. So I wanted to give these 6 lessons to you because I know since I've read this article, they've played an important part in my role. Now, I don't know, or in my life, I don't know that I've actually do all 6 of them yet. I'm getting there, but it's a constant reminder and it's a constant centering tool for myself. I want to read one more quote from this. Give me 1 second because I'm not on the page. And the way that she closes the article, and she goes, I have adopted Aunt Grace's motto, bloom where you are planted. And I think that's amazing, especially when we're talking about the concept of change. You may move physically, mentally, whatever the case may be, but you can still bloom where you're at. You can find good where you're at. You can center yourself where you're at. So I want you all to be encouraged. I want you to know that all of us face change, that all of us struggle with change in some form or fashion, and that there are tools and there are articles and there are Aunt Graces out there that can help us find a way to center ourselves. So as I said, be encouraged today. What are you struggling with, and how can these 6 steps help you center your life? Thank you, as always, for joining us for our Be Encouraged moments.